Good morning, team. It's Nat here. As we move into mid-year monitoring, I thought that it would be a really good idea to revisit a presentation that we did back in 2019 when we previewed the six shells for family and community engagement. I want to send a special shout out to Mandy Griffin, our family engagement specialist at the Department of Education, for helping us with this presentation. So, get in your seats and kind of think about mid-year monitoring and the first couple of modules that are in our guidance and compliance course, and how you're going to ensure that all six shells are met at least once this school year before we leave in May of 2022. So that's really kind of our focus for today. I want to spend some time talking about the six shells and the types of events that match those six shells so that when you are completing your mid-year monitoring form, you have the correct six shells. So let's jump into it. We are familiar with the Georgia Systems of Continuous Support. Our major system is the Family and Community Engagement System. This is the system that organizes that link between home and school and the staff learning and kind of environment and how we support each other. And everything that we do, our motto, our tagline is helping families to help their children academically at home. We know that families have a lot of jobs and a lot of responsibilities, but what our plans are used for is to ensure that everything that we do here in Cobb County School District and at your local schools helps the parents to help their child reach their academic goals. And we do that by helping our families, one family at a time. So let's do an overview of the compact. The intent for the Family School Compact is to provide the revision process for the school improvement plan and those phase structures. We have to align all the items in our compact with the teacher will, student will, and family will components. The families agree to what we have in the compact. And like I know, we just had compacts signed, all the receiver letters signed during conference week, and this is a good time to go over that compact with parents, and also to have parents as a part of our input process so that they can have input into what they're agreeing on, and it's a relationship building time and not just schools telling families what we want them to do. The purpose of the compact and the compliance checklist are to ensure that each school's compact meets those required components. So at this point in the year, your Title I supervisor should have signed your compliance checklist for your compact, and you should have those compacts uploaded along with the distribution form. So you're going to use the copy of your school's FY22 compact, and we've already done that, but I just wanted to remind you that there are two checklists for the compact. There's the compliance checklist and the distribution checklist. Next is the family school policy. Again, there are two checklists. There is the compliance checklist for the school policy, and there is the distribution checklist for the school policy. So you want to make sure that you've completed those and that your Title I supervisor has signed the compliance checklist. The intent and purpose for our family school policy is to ensure that through the revision process that we went through over the summer, that families had input into the activities and the workshops and the resources that you're going to use your Title I funds for. A lot of our schools have moved to an evidence-based practice, which would be the Harvard Family Dinner Project, the mentorship partnership that we have, the academic parent-teacher teams, or hosting the Learning Launch events tied to to the Cobb Teaching and Learning Standards. So whatever your school is doing, they're big rocks. You want to make sure that it is articulated clearly in your family school policy. With building staff capacity, this is actually shell number 3. And there are two building staff capacity trainings that your school could do this year. You guys know that you have the Engage Every Family or the building partnerships. Either one of those meets this. The only one exception is that if your school is engaging in the academic parent teacher team, that means that you will complete the building staff capacity checklist for your teachers anytime that you have a meeting with your families. We are required to do 4 trainings each year. That's a federal requirement. It is also a federal requirement, or state requirement rather, that 2 of those trainings be in small group and 2 of those trainings be independently or on your own. So we've designed the checklist for you guys to be able to do that pretty easily. And we have to document that all of our staff is being taught or engaged on how to build relationships with families and how to have conversations that are inviting to families so that we can increase our partnerships. So that is SHAL 3. And the SHAL 3 says educators, teachers, specialized instructional support personnel, principals, other leaders, and school staff, with the assistance of parents, and how to reach out to communicate and work with parents as equal partners, implement and coordinate parent programs, and build ties between parents and the school. So that's a really long definition, but the simple explanation is how do we at our schools integrate staff training opportunities at least once a quarter? So we've done that for you guys. Now, when it comes over to the building passive parents, it's a little bit different. That's when we really have to dig into all of those 6 shells to make sure that 1 through 6 and section 11-12 for our ESOL students are covered. Okay, so that's where we really have to really dig into the shells. So here we go. The intent of the checklist for building parent capacity is that schools must touch each of the 6 shalls in the grant year. So that's what we're doing. You have to document that all your topics match the 6 shalls and have been documented properly. So we have a sample that is from Whitfield County Schools, and they have their checklist, which the State Department has adopted, and you have a copy of that, which says checklist for building parent capacity. And on that checklist, you have all of those 6 shalls. So you're going to have to kind of dig into those and really have a good understanding of what those 6 shalls are so that you can, better articulate what you actually did in the school building. So let's run through these. Shall 1, provide assistance to parents of children in understanding topics such as the challenging state academic standards, academic assessments, and how to monitor your child's progress, okay? The quick explanation for that is how do we create opportunities to inform and prepare our families to support their children's academic progress at home? So this could be your math events, your curriculum nights, CTLS, parent view support, those kind of things. Anything that can help your kids, your families understand how to check grades, what the progress is. It could be conferences that you have outside of your conference week, that anything that you have that shares parents about academics. So that's an easy one to cover. Shall 2 is providing materials or training to help parents work with their children to improve their achievements, such as literacy training, using technology. We do have copyright piracy, where we ask schools to talk about copyright piracy. I know a lot of media specialists do that. And the quick explanation for that one is providing materials along with classes to support improving your child's academics. We have some English classes that are going on. We have classes where schools are actually hosting math classes for parents to engage every other week or once a month in learning about how to do the math with your kids. That would be a good example of that. We skipped shall 3 because we'd already talked about that with the building staff capacity. So we're moving to shall 4. And this shall says, to the extent feasible and appropriate, coordinate and integrate parent involvement programs and activities with other federal, state, and local programs, including public preschool or other activities such as parent resource centers, to engage and support parents to fully participate in their education of their children. So, in short, create opportunities to prepare students and families for transition. This is always a good shell for your transition. So, how do we coordinate in high school with colleges, universities, your CTAE program, if kids want to go to technical school, or if kids are, or how do you work with your military services or the ROTCs at your school to help kids transition from their senior year to their next step, either in the world, with businesses and things like that? How do you transition them out of high school? With your special education students, how are you transitioning them out of high school? And then how are you transitioning your freshmen, your ninth graders into high school to learn, hey, this is what high school is all about. Here are some of the expectations. When we go to the lower grades, how do we transition students from pre-K to kindergarten, from fifth grade to middle school, and again from middle school to high school? So this is an easy, button. Transition is not a one-stop shop, one-time event. Transition has to be with families. It has to be with parents. It could be an actual event, or it could be something that you send out maybe quarterly or twice a year as a handout, as a brochure, as a CTLS video post of how you're supporting students. I see this a lot with kindergartners. They have like quarterly information that they send out and say, here's what your kid should be doing the first quarter. Here's what your kid should be doing the second quarter, as parents learn what kindergartners are supposed to be doing. We're going to move on to shall 5, which is to ensure that information related to school and parent programs, meetings, and other activities is sent to parents of participating children in a format and, to the extent practical, in a language parents can understand. Before I give you the explanation, there are some documents that ensure that shall 5 is being articulated. One of those is your work list. We have to have a timeline that says that we have given parents enough time to plan to participate in the activities. And the other part of that is on the checklist. We also have the translation available, because not all families speak English, but it also is not just about translating documents, but it is in a language that parents can understand. Over the last couple of years, we've spent a lot of time working through not using a lot of acronyms, not using a lot of teacher language when we talk to families, but just simply saying, hey, you're coming to math night, using just everyday language that any family can understand. So, making sure that you are looking at those checklists and that you are including everything always ensures that shall 5 is taken care of. So, the short explanation: provide written and oral communication in family friendly language, and it may include translation or interpretation if required. There's a little something called the 8 Mays of faith building capacity, which go along with the 6 shalls. And these are not requirements, but they are things that we may do. So I'm just going to read these off to you so that you can think about these mays and if you're doing any of these. These are not on the checklist, but they're things that we consider to be best practices. Um, May involve parents in the development of training teachers, principals, and staff. May provide necessary literacy training above the district provided classes. May pay for involvement activities, transportation, and childcare, which we do all the time. May train parents to enhance the involvement of other parents. We do that during our 4 evidence based opportunities that we have. May arrange school meetings at a variety of times or conduct in-home conferences between teacher or other educators. May adopt and implement model approaches to improve parent involvement, such as APTT, Learning Launch, Harvard Family Dinner Project, or the mentorship. may establish district-wide parent advisory councils. A lot of schools have parent advisory councils and may develop appropriate roles for community-based organizations and businesses in parental involvement activities. And lots of us have partners in education that support our family engagement activities. Now for that final shall. Um, 6 shalls of face. So the last one says, shall provide such other reasonable support for parent involvement activities under this section. And the big purpose here is as parents may request. So this is why we take surveys, why we do input meetings, anything that your parents, not anything, but for the most part, 99.8%, anything that your parents are asking for or requesting, you can use your Title I funds for. So again, I've had schools that say families really need support in doing the math in middle school. Can I have a teacher teach parents how to do the math? Absolutely, as long as your parents have requested it. We have lots of schools that use Rosetta Stone with families and have English classes. That's because their parents have asked for it. So take time to read over your surveys, engage with your families, talk with them so you can find out what they want. Because if parents are requesting something, that's a good indicator of where schools should be spending their Title I funds. So the short explanation, you are providing activities, workshops, resources that are linked to student learning that have not already been covered in the previous 6 shalls or 8 mays. And this says, hey, these are things that we're able to do for our families because they are indeed asking us for this. And our final checklist is the distribution checklist. The one that's here is a sample from our training a couple of years ago, but just please ensure that your website, was already screenshot before last weekend, and that you have everything there that you need, and that you've run the reports for whatever you need, and that distribution is done in a timely manner. And our deadline was October the 29th. So you just want to make sure that all that is done and ready to go, and that checklist has been provided. And the input opportunities. You have to have at least 2 input opportunities each year. The input is how we get everything done that we have. Most of everybody sent the survey out this semester, which was the secondary school improvement opportunity for input. And then next semester, most of you guys are going to be hosting a face-to-face meeting, which would be the primary method. So Rayburn County School System provided this checklist, and this is the one that the state has actually adopted. Just remember that our checklist look just a little bit different from the state checklist, and that's why I want you to use the ones that are provided in the courses and not the checklists that are online with the State Department. And that's because we've included a few extra things that we do here in Cobb, like our CTLS reports, our parent view sign-in sheets, and our rationale and request. And we also upload those into our Office 365 folders. So that is it for me. I want to say thank you for your time. I hope that this overview was helpful just to kind of make those connections between what the heck are the shalls and my school events, opportunities, and the resources that I'm providing for my families so you can make headway of that. All right. Thanks so much. Enjoy your day.